I'm Emily Mashak, and you're listening to Tuned In to NoCo, Town Square Media's show that lets you know what matters in NoCo. I'm talking today with Jeff Stahla, the Public Information Officer at Northern Water, about the Chimney Hollow Reservoir Project and Dam. So thank you so much for joining me today, Jeff.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And now, before we get into the Chimney Hollow project, I want to talk a little bit about Northern Water. How would you sum up the company's role in the Northern Colorado community?
Sure. Northern Water was created in 1937 really to be the local partner for the federal Colorado Big Thompson project, which brings water over from Lake Granby to communities up and down the Northern Front Range. We're a governmental entity created under auspices of the state legislature, and we serve 33 towns and cities and more than 1 million people from Broomfield on north.
So let's talk about what Northern Water has in store for the Chimney Hollow Reservoir and Dam. What do listeners need to know about the reservoir, the dam? What's going on?
Sure. So Chimney Hollow Reservoir has been in the permitting process and the regulatory process since 2003. It's a reservoir that's going to be built in a valley just west of Carter Lake, and it's going to hold water that the communities of Northern Colorado have had the rights to, but haven't been able to store until now. And so that reservoir is really going to add to the water portfolio for the region, not just for this year or this decade, but really looking through the 21st century.
Gotcha. And when I was researching the reservoir and the project, I saw that it was also part of the Windy Gap project. Is that correct?
Correct. And so the Windy Gap project is one that has existed for about 40 to 45 years now, and it brings over additional water from the west slope to the Front Range. But like I said earlier, there was really no storage place to put it. And so it's really hit or miss whether communities have access to that water year in and year out.
And then I also saw that this reservoir will be used with an Asphalt Core Dam. What does that mean?
Well, most of the dams in Northern Colorado that you see, the big ones, especially like at Horsetooth or at Carter Lake, are earth-fill dams where there's a bunch of different sized rocks and dirt, and they're really centered around, or they really surround a clay core that provides that water seal. But at the Chimney Hollow site, there's not quite enough of that clay to form that watertight seal. So rather than import the clay from other sources throughout the region, we're going to use what's called an asphalt core dam, which is a type of dam where, again, you have the large rocks and the small rocks and the dirt, and it surrounds a core made out of asphalt. Now, not the asphalt that you drive on, that's much too crunchy and brittle. This is more like a hydraulic asphalt that will have really some malleability to it, but will form that watertight barrier for the dam. And so it's only going to be 2 or 3 feet thick, but even at that thickness, it provides that water sealing so that water won't go through the dam.
I see. And now you touched on this a little bit. Obviously, it will help bring water to Northern Colorado, but how really will this reservoir impact our community?
Well, we know for a fact that people love living in Northern Colorado and they keep moving here. And really, what our organization does is we help our communities that we serve to address not just their short-term needs, but really what are the long-term needs for this natural resource. And so this will, again, provide that water that's going to be really important as it is now, really as more people move here. And so we recognize that there's not a way that you can keep people from moving here. And so this is a way to help make sure that we meet their needs.
And now, like with Horsetooth Reservoir, people can go there, they can swim, they can boat. Is that going to be something we'll have with Chimney Hollow, or will it be different?
I'm actually really excited about this aspect. We have an agreement with Larimer County that they will manage the recreation at Chimney Hollow Reservoir. And as it stands right now, they're looking for a little bit different type of management than you see at Horsetooth Reservoir. You're likely going to see this reservoir at Chimney Hollow be one where it's wakeless only. And so it's really going to be, I think, one of the top places to go put your stand-up paddleboard or your kayak, and you're not going to have to navigate around all the power boats that are going around you. So I'm really excited for what I think could become really a gem for recreation in northern Colorado.
Yeah, I'm excited about that too. That sounds so fun. And I know, especially everyone's so outdoorsy here. But there was some controversy surrounding the dam and the reservoir. What would you say to people who are still concerned, possibly about the environmental impacts?
Sure. So, as part of this project, we really took a much closer look at the effects on the headwaters of the Colorado River. That this is something that we know that on the Front Range of Colorado, we don't get that much natural water supply here. And so, for the past 75 years, we've been able to use water that falls on the other side of the Continental Divide to help us generate the communities that we have today. So with Chimney Hollow Reservoir, we really took a closer look at not only what impacts this project will have, but also some of the impacts of previous projects. So in Grand County, near the current Windy Gap Reservoir, we're actually going to build a new channel for the Colorado River to go around Windy Gap Reservoir and reconnect the stretches of stream above and below it and create a healthier river than we've had in previous decades. There's also more that we're doing in terms of nutrient reductions and water quality on the west slope and some work here on the east slope, but we're really excited about that connectivity channel on the Colorado River.
When can people expect to see this reservoir? I know it'll take a long time, but what is the timeline looking like?
Sure. Well, we're hoping to get started this summer on the construction of the reservoir and the dam, and that's going to take just over 3 years. So that puts us into 2025, 2026. And then really we'll start looking at the hydrology of the west slope. And if there's the water to put into the reservoir, we'll start to be able to fill it up. But under state rules, you can't fill up a new dam very quickly. And so it'll probably take another year or two just to get the water to a level that's going to be adequate for recreation. So we're probably looking into the latter half of this decade before you'll really be putting your stand-up paddleboard out into the reservoir.
Well, thank you, Jeff, for taking the time to talk to me today about this. Is there anything else you would like listeners to know?
Well, I think that it's important to note that in Colorado, water on the Front Range is a scarce commodity, but we take an all of the above approach to figure out how to address our needs. So water storage is only one component. We also need to make sure that we're being efficient with our water, planting adequate but appropriate landscaping for the climate that we live in, and also making sure that we recognize that the farms around us need water as well, and recognizing the role that they play in this community. So again, we're happy to get started on this water storage project, but we recognize it's only one leg on a multi-legged stool to help us reach into the 21st century.
Well, thank you, Jeff, for taking the time to explain this part of it. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Again, that was Jeff Stahla, the Public Information Officer at Northern Water, talking about the Chimney Hollow Reservoir Project and Dam. Learn more about the Chimney Hollow Reservoir Project at northernwater.org/CHRP.